Hey there, welcome to episode 129 of the Quaggling Sand audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo, as usual. We're recording this at 9:49 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Greater Vegas on Wednesday, April 29, 2026. We normally publish new episodes of Quaggling Sand on Wednesdays, quite often in the morning or close to it. We'll see if we can make it. Today's title and topic, This AI Thing. You know what I'm talking about, or if you don't, I envy you. Today we will talk about what this AI thing actually means, what it is to me, based on my experience growing up and so on without it, and entering a technical field and so on. So before that, if you're not familiar with what quaggling sand is, it is a technical term I coined when I was very young. You probably use the layperson term pins and needles. It is the return of circulation to usually a limb, a hand or a foot. Perhaps you were sitting funny, laying. Maybe you fell asleep on your arm, with your head on your arm or under something. Numbness ensues, and then circulation returns. Quaggling sand. For the purposes of this audio program, it is the swirling recollection of days gone by and things that happened in those days. Some stories may be interesting, fascinating, funny, humorous, informative. Maybe you'll take something from this, or maybe you just need to listen to something while you're on a treadmill or on a cross-country drive. Well, I'm here for you. This AI thing. Hopefully, wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, which contains the show notes, including a brief summary, which I'll read to you, and the two usual links. I've not added any new links. There's too much stuff floating around on the internet now. You can find links all day. Some of them are human generated. So on that note, let us begin the summary of today's episode. I have been in the general tech arena for over 30 years now. And I have to say, this AI thing does not give me a good feeling. I have opinions. I always do. Let me correct two changes. I was originally going to call it AI stuff, but I don't want to get too technical. The links, as usual, Quaggling Sand homepage. Quaggling is Quoggling, just like it sounds. Sand, S-A-N-D, quagglingsand.com. The profile page linking everything. buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo, which is just slightly over 5 years old now. It's been around for a while. It is my freeform links page. You can find links to all of my various audio programs, including this one, on YouTube, on Spotify for creators, which then links to Apple, Amazon, Spotify, an RSS feed, maybe some other places. The Buy Me an Update audio program, which publishes on Monday mornings, was originally exclusively hosted at buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo/posts, which is also linked from the profile page. It is no longer exclusively published there, but it is published there first, in case you're wondering. So on that note, let us begin. Tech and automation way back. Now I'm not like ENIAC or UNIVAC era. I came a little bit later than that. I have seen a punch card, but I've never used a punch card to submit code. I've never used paper tape. I have seen and have been exposed to tape drives, like big reel-to-reel tape drives, but those were just a little bit before my time. I have always been a fan of technology. I have mentioned before, my dad was working for Honeywell when we moved from New Jersey to Phoenix, Arizona, and they had family day there, so the families would know what was going on at that big compound that was Honeywell in the Phoenix area. Later, Honeywell Bull. And so I got to see a variety of old school technologies with the engineers developing them, sort of a show and tell. Showing them off for all the visitors. That was us. I don't know if companies do this anymore. Maybe they should. Kind of bring some of the crazy technology developments going on to people during. Everything's so secretive. I was always eager to have access to computing, and when I did eventually have access, I was eager to learn how they worked, how to program them, and what to do with those programs. I have described my Sprint codes for free long distance. My Sprint code finder, which was basically a phone dialer from the movie War Games, if you ever saw that Matthew Broderick movie, often referred to as a war dialer. it would tell my modem to keep dialing phone numbers, or in this case, dial the Sprint access number and then try different access codes so I could use these to make free long distance calls or free calls at payphones, etc. Probably larceny in a sensible world, but this would actually have been telecommunications fraud. Yipes. Oh, but this was also my first experience getting my computer to do something with a tangible outcome. And I was under 18 anyway, so this was learning by doing. The digital pager program, or the beeper program, as it was affectionately known later, was equally questionable as far as legality, but also a good learning experience, having my computer automate the tedious process of crank calling someone. I usually refer to this as my digital human denial of service attack. I would put one phone number on 1,000 digital pagers, and then the people that owned those pagers would call that phone number en masse. So once removed, crank calling. Somewhere in there, I also became a fan of WordPerfect, for example. And so I would use macros and other word processing coolness on the old Apple IIe to make doing my homework easier. There was some other stuff that I would use my computer for. The tools I had at my disposal were not necessarily cutting edge. They were not the highest performance, but I had already, gotta have those two letters in there. This is the problem when humans write stuff, you make errors. Already established for myself that having some wherewithal to understand how computers and technology worked so that I could use these to my advantage was good. So this was happening early in my computer using career, high school, basically. I was one of those take things apart kids when I was younger. Maybe to this day, I don't know. Where putting things back together was left to another time, perhaps, probably another person entirely who actually knew how to reassemble stuff. But I knew enough not to disassemble my computer. The same could not be said of the software. Disassembling stuff. Okay, that's a nerd joke. Don't worry if it flew by. Knowing is part of it. So through my academic and professional career timeline, especially once it became clear that I was leaning into the computers instead of the airplanes, I've talked about that previously, it became clear to me that understanding how this stuff works is important. Really, it is. It is actually important. It was also interesting to me. Actually interesting. It was actually something I found motivating, intriguing, etc. I focused on computer engineering in college, on top of the other topics within the concentration at Harvey Mudd College. So engineering, you had to do materials, mechanics, electrical, chemical, systems, communications, all kinds of different stuff. And then I focused on computer engineering. And I had a summer job at one point working with the math department at Harvey Mudd to put math tools to use during a conference they were hosting. Have you ever heard of Mathematica, for example? That was only one of several cues. I think one of the tools was HiQ or something like this. But Mathematica was definitely in there as an example. That was the big one, but there were the others. I think it was like HiQ or something like that. Data visualization tools and so on. This was in the early 90s. So imagine what's happened in the past 30, 35 years. I had to learn the C programming language for another summer job. It was after my freshman year of college, where I only knew the Pascal programming language. I know Harvey Mudd was still teaching Pascal, which was insane, but that would change very quickly soon after. So I got the infamous C programming language book, otherwise known as the K&R, Kerrigan and Ritchie, the authors, and the developers of the C programming language, and used a tool at my summer workplace to literally step through the compiler. It was a Power C compiler. No GCC in that company's tool set. So I used the compiler debugger features to literally step through the sources I was writing by looking at the machine code, the disassembled code, the stack and the heap, and in general how it was working step by step, instruction by instruction. Think of it as learning how to fix a car by watching the pistons and the 4 cycles that they go through during an internal combustion engine cycle, 4 cycles, and the final drive and all the other various systems in great detail. So like cutaways and watching step by step, watching the fuel injection and the spark plug if you have one, or electronic ignition otherwise. Actually, I guess electronic ignition probably still uses spark plugs. It's been a while. I had a similar experience working at Intel as a contractor in Chandler on some pre-silicon validation code. This was when I first moved to Phoenix, so it was right around 2001. A great time where the new part they were developing was a simulated, it was an ARM, Hermon B0 stepping, if you're curious. We're developing was simulated completely in what looked like a large commercial washing machine, actually several. And we would write code to to test different parts of it, the new part, before it was finished to go to actual fabrication. So making silicon parts is expensive. So simulating or emulating them for development and testing and debugging and so on is a worthy pursuit. And so that's what we were working on. We could watch gates flipping inside the virtual part and see code running at gate levels or functional block levels, etc. We could watch waveforms. You could watch signals going high and low between different units, chip selects, or the equivalent block selects, I guess. Similar to C programming language stuff, I could actually watch what I wrote. It was actually executing in this virtual emulated system. Equally nerdy, perhaps, but a direct connection between what I was doing and what was happening as a result. So I could directly connect the code that I wrote to the actions that were taking place inside of the system. It's similar to when if you have an Arduino, you write some code and you make an LED blink, and that's your first introduction to programming. So you can take an action and watch the effect. Then you take another action to change what you originally wrote or had it do and watch the change take place. And then you can connect these activities to outcomes. That is true in just about anything. That's kind of how we learn. It could be anything: cooking, riding a bicycle. Hey, I didn't fall down. Driving, flying, writing a book that people like. It could be anything. You see an outcome and you interpret a response or a result of some sort. Maybe you got the right answer, or the light came on, or maybe the feedback loop is that people purchased your book, or they visit your website, or they like your picture, or whatever the case may be. Learning. In my travels, I've come across people who know an awful lot about a certain area of a topic. For example, some very, very talented software engineers who have said to me that they have no idea what the hardware is doing. They have no interest. They don't want to know. Now, these are technically adept individuals who choose not to get into the details under the hood. That's their choice, under the hood, so to speak. So they don't have to. You could love driving cars and never know what's going on under it. You could switch from internal combustion to electric vehicle, and you would perhaps never know the change took place. You're just more concerned with the driving part. Okay. If you are a chef, you may not dive into the inner workings of an inductive cooktop, even if you use one every day, and this is fine. However, what I have been experiencing more over the last decade or so is a little bit more of this view where copy-paste is the way some tasks are accomplished in the software development process in general. This could apply elsewhere, rather than understanding what is actually happening. Now, I'm totally fine with taking some code that already works and watching what it does, and then seeing where I can change it and what my changes do to it and so on. So you don't need to always start with a blank page. However, taking the time to actually understand what's happening is that missing link. I'm seeing it missing more and more often. This is not ignoring the deep dive into the underlying system. It is avoiding knowing how the project itself actually works. So I'm not saying you have to go and watch registers flipping inside a simulated microprocessor, but if you merely copy and paste someone else's work and it seems to work, let's move on to the next thing, you're missing out and you're introducing risk, and there's all sorts of other bad stuff. If you want to look at the chef and equivalent again, here's some ingredients. I'm just going to put it into my recipe here. I don't really know what's in it. Yeah, really good chefs will never tolerate, what's in that little jar of store-bought seasoning? I don't know. It tastes good. They will know. They will be curious enough to understand what's happening, and maybe they'll even make their own at some point. They may try something and say, I can make this better. And they'll use fresher ingredients, whatever the case is. So the learning part, I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying, don't copy and paste and learn from something. but it's that learning step. It's the taking the time part that I'm concerned about. I have witnessed people who have been labeled genius software developers not take the time to read documentation, understand file formats, or how systems function, and comment out or disable blocks of code without knowing what is happening, because they end up with something that seems to work well enough. Oh, I just commented out that part and it works. Well, what was happening when it wasn't working? Oh, I don't know. To go back to the chef analogy, it could be that someone just throws a bunch of the same ingredients into a pan. I like the chef analogy. Cooks them and plates them, and then they're good, without having any idea how the cooking process impacts flavor, texture, and so on, and then not caring. Maybe this is a line cook. They're just doing what they're told, perhaps, getting the dishes out, getting the plates to the servers, to the runners, etc. But this is not a chef, even though others around them are in awe over their faux chef abilities. So a real chef, a real software. There's this meme, to interrupt myself, there's a meme, a junior level person, it could be a programmer, it could be anything, anyone doing anything. It works, and they move on. The senior level person, the person that's been around, the person that's done it the wrong way, the right way, learned all about the difference, they may say, this works, but I'm not sure why, and they'll try to determine why that works. So you see this in software development a lot, but it could be anything. If you take the time to understand why something went from, this doesn't taste good, to, this does taste good. What ingredient did I change? What happened? Not, okay, we're good. On to the next thing. Maybe it's about caring what you're doing and embracing the education that you get from these little experiences. So at the other end of the spectrum, when I was working with Intel in particular, Intel in the Maker Innovator Group, I traveled around quite a bit. I had many opportunities to engage people with a mindset similar to mine. They're much smarter nowadays, completely understanding their areas of interest enough to actually manufacture their own components. Thank you, 3D printing, which has only gotten better and better over the years. Or even learning new things that they need to understand to advance their cause. Maybe they just had to learn what 3D printing was at first and then manufacture the component that they needed. They can invent their own implementations. They can learn from others, collaborate, connect things in new and interesting ways, and so on. This is all because they take that time to understand what's actually happening and how things actually work. Where the copy pasters are a frustrating bunch for their lack of interest in actually understanding what they're doing, this other crowd way at the other end, the makers, if you like, are balancing the world, providing a future where human ingenuity still finds a way out of their creative minds and into existence. So turning an idea into a thing that you can actually use is hopefully not becoming a lost art. There are still enclaves of action based on real thinking and creativity. Now enter AI. This is a rhetorical question for those of you who use AI to automate some parts of your day. Do you understand what AI is doing, as in how it works? The whole notion of prompting in natural language, usually American English, because that is what most of the training data is. So you can do a translation in and out, but not as good. So natural language prompting has enabled some anthropomorphism that actually leads people to treat AI as a living, sentient being. Do you ask please and thank you kind of things? Do you have those kind of interactions? In fact, the prompt, now called the context, is a collection of tokens that are analyzed as input, which is matched to a most likely collection of output tokens that correspond to that input. Not to discount what these large language models are doing out of hand. They've done a lot of interesting work here. The reasoning models and so on, they can show their work as they work through the statistical matching of input to output. But these are sort of like copy pasters in my opinion. So as I described earlier, you're just copying and pasting the work of others. Your tools of choice are parroting back data that they got during the training. They do not know, nor do they care what that is that they're giving you, what it means to you, or nor what you will do with it. So here's the answer. Well, the answer is wrong. Okay. Those are the people writing the code that will make the brakes in your car work or not. The things I didn't mention about the copy paster crowd in my example, they are often younger people, entry level or perhaps junior level, with a year or two, maybe 3 maximum writing code to do real things. AI is making an appearance in various places, not always augmenting or perhaps replacing junior level roles. But this appears to be the focus of late with AI, to make programming computers something that people don't need to worry themselves over anymore. Anyone can be a programmer, they are saying. Even the copy paste becomes unnecessary. Just tell your tools what you want, and as if by magic, a working application or website or whatever springs to life. No need to get technical at all. There are some good and bad things about that. The obvious problems that are already, if you spend any time on the internets in the AI topic area, these are already being pointed out, and I tend to agree based on my experience. If entry-level and junior-level developers, or anyone really, skips over the learning and comprehension parts and just describes what they are looking for or what they want to accomplish to an AI context, they are not learning the details. They are only receiving the outcome. Does the outcome work? We're already awash with tales of experienced lawyers, for example, filing legal documents with obvious chatbot commentary within that they forget to edit out of the body text. They clearly just didn't look at it. We are hearing about catastrophic system failures resulting from AI writing code and deploying it without checks, maybe from humans. Remember, AI doesn't care about either of these examples, nor about you, nor your grades, nor your ability to comprehend anything, nor the legal implications, nor the penalties. AWS went down in this example, or in this reference. AWS went down for a while because an automated tool in their Kiro development tool chain decided to make some changes to system configurations and just published it. And there was inadequate human reflection on what's about to happen. So that came later. And so you have to wonder, well, are we shipping this thing that AI just came up with, or are we going to test it first? I hear this more and more lately. I asked ChatGPT and it said something something reasonably important in the rest of that sentence. I asked what it thought about this. I asked it what my taxes should be, all this stuff. We're actually finding information to add to some discourse is the goal. To better understand a scenario or a model of how the world works, perhaps, basically replacing research with automated word generation. It's probably this, based on my statistical analysis of what you asked me. If you want to see something interesting, take your question and try to start with a new context. So open a new chat for each. So take your original question and then reword it. Put the beginning of the sentence at the end of this, at the end, like reword so that the words are in different orders, and see what the variation in your responses what the variations are. Ask ChatGPT, it will tell you. Remember, the AI doesn't care, and it most definitely does not care if the response it gives you is inaccurate, even completely wrong. This is softening the skills of people across the spectrum. I can only hope the maker crowd that I described earlier and other experts in various fields, or people who are becoming experts because they're really interested, are not giving in to the separation of thinking and answer. Yeah. In my field, the new expectation is that senior people have been around for more than 10 years. I guess I'm a couple of seniors in. With real practical experience will take over the role of checking the code written by artificial intelligence tools rather than architecting systems and making them work. Now, I will say that the newest version of this is, now people have to learn how to architect systems so that they can better describe them to AI to write the code for you. Okay. The new term spec-driven design is humorous because I think we've been doing this for a long time, where we describe what we're trying to build and then we try to build it. The exact format, the exact level of specificity in the specification. Agile development in general moves more towards a give credit to the person doing the development. So try to defer specific decisions till later. There are different styles of this, but basically you try to establish what you want to accomplish up front and then head in that direction. So spec-driven design is the latest new thing that's already been around. So since before AI came onto the scene, generally speaking, the expectation appears to be experience will be used to correct the inaccuracies after the spec is developed and in precision of the AI tools, perhaps in hopes that they will continue to improve. Meanwhile, the junior level folks, I'm still using coders as examples, but this can apply fairly broadly, are no longer learning the deep detail, which means 5 to 10 years from now, the senior level population will begin to shrink with retirements and whatnot. Maybe just getting sick of, I wanted to be a programmer, not a babysitter, babysitting the AI tools. And there will no longer be a skilled cadre of juniors rising through the ranks to become seniors, coding or otherwise. Then what? Indeed. Have you ever seen the Idiocracy movie? There have been plenty of dystopian movies, television series, and books and whatnot about what happens when the tech stops working all at once for whatever reason, rises up against we humans. Terminator, perhaps. There are others, even the 2001: A Space Odyssey. Or maybe just works like it always has without anybody knowing why or how. Idiocracy. Despite these, there seems to be a real interest, to the detriment of society over the long term, perhaps, to hand over thinking and maybe innovation and actual comprehension to these tools that will learn how to do your job and then replace you. In some cases, they're learning from you. Hello, Meta. So that you have more time to pursue some art projects, perhaps, although the AI is also doing your art projects for you. Here's where I will remind my listeners that I do use usually Nano Banana on Google Gemini, their AI platform, to create some or most of my cover art for my podcast episodes. All the writing and the recitation are all human, for better or worse. But the cover art, I'm not artistically capable of creating some of these. So as a tool, AI is useful, and I'm sure some people will find that disheartening or even insulting, because a human could do the art. Why are you letting AI do it? Except that I have no humans sitting around waiting to do my bidding for me in this area. Although I composite my cover art myself, for what that's worth. For my own, and sometimes I use my own photos, and so it's not 100%. For my own near-term uses, I think AI is a tool for some use cases. I just described one. Ideally, it would be used like a pencil or an eraser as part of a process conducting thought from brain to page, right? You do the writing with the pencil and correcting errors along the way with the eraser. As it is used more often to generate the thought. Okay, let me fix that. So as it is used more often to generate the thought instead of the brain doing it, so doing that first part about thinking, I think we will have a problem. This in addition to the fact that all of the training data in the world up to a point in recent time, a couple of years ago, was all human-generated creativity in various forms. I mean, for the most part. I'm sure there was some computer slop, but nowhere near where we are now. So generated AI slop is really human creativity repackaged in the statistical model, right? The vector database, the tokens, the model data, the weights of the model, open weights or otherwise. So we learn it. We gave it everything. It learned from it. It trained itself based on these algorithms and the data store, the massive amounts of data that are now stored in these billion parameter models, bigger than that even. And then it's giving it back to us in various forms. With more and more AI slop feeding this machinery now, over the last couple of years, the internet is now becoming more and more AI generated. So it's generating variations on what it was trained on, which was 100% human. Now the internet is becoming more and more AI slop over time. So if the AI machines are training more, they're continuing to train on their own output. You get a degradation of quality of the results into the future that it generates. That sounds great. So it's like the snake eating its own tail, so to speak. That's an example that's given elsewhere. This is a real thing, so keep an eye out for that. Why is what I'm reading becoming worse and worse? Because that's how it works. Generally speaking, humans are using these tools to cut corners, reduce work while increasing output. Maybe this is a productivity boost in some cases. Other times it is slop. So keep that in mind. If I can generate slop and monetize 3 times as many videos as I could if I was doing them manually, which one am I going to do? Depends on how much I care about the money versus the output. And they'll generally lean into, the humans will generally lean into doing less while extracting more. That's how biological economies work. This is something of a perverse incentive where saving time and effort in the interest of financial gains is often at the expense of others. Like, I'm just going to generate the slop and I'll get views and I'll get ad revenue. I'm thinking of YouTube AI generated videos at this point. I don't care if people like it as long as I get the clicks and thus the revenue. Then they must then deal with the AI slop that is fed to them. They're receiving emails, they're visiting websites, they're reading reviews, they're watching videos, etc. And this is not by a human. Maybe it's poor work, those legal briefs with generated content that really may not have any bearing on reality and actual legal cases. Maybe you start reading a book that you paid for and you realize this is just repackaged slop from other books. Humans can do that. Why are we letting AI do that? Imagery that is subpar. Why does that person have 7 fingers, etc.? I often generate images of the Las Vegas Strip, and it just puts things wherever it feels like it sometimes. So that's not a real hotel. I just generated one for Let's Innovate for Vegas this week, and it used an image of the Strip that had Bally's in it. So Bally's is not Bally's anymore. So wherever it got that image from, there it is. And maybe problematic output, software with mystery bugs and unknown architecture and so on. That's where it's going to get really interesting, which may feed back on itself, and then things only get worse from there. So I do have concerns. You should too. I will end today's episode about reading, or with reading, which I'm doing right now. The thing about all of this, it is happening, no question. Humans will be tested by AI in the workplace, in creative spaces, and in all the other spaces. We're just going to have to deal with AI all the time. As quantum computing hits the headlines more and more often lately, we will soon be faced with the risk to all of our previously encrypted information, thanks to Shor's algorithm and all it implies for public key cryptography. So look for the mention of Q-Day coming soon, and think about some post-quantum cryptography options. They are available now, sort of. And also remember that AES is already quantum safe, apparently, the advanced encryption standard. This will be coming just as the real impact of AI is being felt across job markets and the entire world in the next 5-10 years or so. Okay, that's the conspiracy hat talking. I learned how to read when I was about 3 years old. So thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dr. Seuss. And this was a gateway to self-directed learning, advancing my reading level at a somewhat accelerated rate, and the ability to explore my curiosity with a library card, and maybe some lived experience later. But I certainly had a library card from a young age. Go ahead and search the internets for all manner of anecdotal accounts of so-called Gen Z and maybe even Gen Alpha students not being able to read, nor write, nor to socialize with other humans. AI on phones, it has been our undoing, perhaps, my allegation. But more realistically, it may dramatically slow any drive any students might have to acquire and develop these basic skills. Reading, writing, interacting with humans, much less learning how systems work, advancing the cause. Where is invention going to come from if nobody knows how things work? Why bother doing any of this? AI can just do it for me. So again, that's the thing. AI learns from what has happened. AI really can't generate something completely creative. That's what they're working on with artificial general intelligence. But until then, human creativity is still the basis for how AI works today. If you stop providing human creativity, where does it come from? So if AI is writing the job descriptions and the websites and the emails and the YouTube scripts and the content itself, the video and the audio, the speaking, and AI is reading the job descriptions and website content and emails and YouTube videos, maybe humans do have more time to do something. I don't know exactly what, but maybe we should ask ChatGPT to answer that one. What would it tell us? Go out and invest your last dollars in an IPO of one of these companies. So that's my feeling on this AI thing, or AI stuff if you prefer. I do not have high hopes for the near term. I have a feeling we're going to see a decline in quality of things like software or content, books, spoken word, music. I think I read somewhere that Spotify's they have AI generated music now that they don't have to pay anyone for. The copyright issues around generative AI and the things that it produces are still up in the air. So there's all kinds of questions about open source software and intellectual property rights and who owns what and what happens when you use AI to make a copy of something. And then now you own the copy because of the way all this is not sort of fleshed out yet. So I think it's going to be a mess for the next decade, probably, it's not a good feeling. But I myself continue to strive to keep it human. I write my own things. I pursue my own ideas, and I haven't coded in too long. Like sat down and built out the ideas that I have. So I need to get back to that focus. But I'm resisting the urge to just say, "Oh, I can just write a spec and have AI do it for me." That is something I will add to my toolbox because I have to. But I need to continue to keep my own skills fresh and sharp and whatever other adjectives you want. Like anything else, you don't necessarily forget, but you don't always stay on top of modernity. So I need to do that. Like, for example, I really haven't kept up on HTML and CSS for the front end website development. There are user experience issues, accessibility, modern approaches to it. Used to be Y ARIA. Now it's, what is it called? I cannot remember. WCAG, level 3 or something. So being aware of these things is important. And if you just let AI do it for you, then you really don't even know when things change. I have some code in my editor right now. So when I say I haven't done, I need to actually complete projects and deploy them. So a lot of things are a work in progress or they're a thinking in progress. When you divorce yourselves of those parts of a process, and it could be anything, any of the creativity or the sort of base level understanding, the architecting. You could be designing a menu. You could be designing a new dessert item if you're, into cooking or so anything that involves you saying, here's what I know, and I have this idea, and I would like to explore that idea, rather than saying, hey, AI, do this for me. I'm too lazy. And that's what I'm hearing from some younger programmers. They're like, oh, now I don't have to actually do this. It does it for me, whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, but understanding what you're doing first. So here's the thing. If you already know how to do something and you say, oh, AI can do this much faster, you may say, and I'm not giving you permission, I'm just suggesting, okay, let's have AI build the sort of the template that I'm going to use. Like it's the same stuff over and over again. And then I'll adapt it to fit into the system I've designed, so I'm going to use it as a partner in the development process, a tool. But if you hand over the work to a tool and you say, here, do it for me, you stop knowing what the tool is doing and how it works and what to do when the tool is not available or when the tool is not doing what you're needing it to do. So then the choices are either adapt what you're trying to accomplish to what the tool can do or put the tool down, try another way. And I'm concerned that people are going to go with option one of those two in the near term. My morning coffee. So yeah, just be ready for when things start behaving weirdly or differently and you start learning more and more, oh yeah, they fired their entire design staff over at Boeing and now it's AI developing the newest airplanes. Consider taking the train. On that note, I will, and by the way, computers are used to design airframes and all that already. The question is where the humans are in that process. And if you need to look at how cutting corners can have an effect on things, just review the 737 MAX from Boeing, why they did what they did, and what took place after. So I'll leave you with that. I have concerns, and maybe you should too. Thanks for listening as always. I know this was a little bit more opinionated in the modern day, but a lot of what my concerns are based on my own personal history and timeline of not only working in technology, but actually being interested in it. I hope that doesn't go away. Bye-bye.